No, just need to apologise to you, our wonderful listeners, and also our partners, because I want to explain what's been happening. And we've had a few technical problems, which has meant that we've had to move things around a little bit, which is why Tim is on at 12 minutes past 8 rather than the usual few minutes past 8. But we got there eventually. Tim is from Compassion UK. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Gareth. I had 12 minutes extra in bed. That's the thing. So it's a bonus.
It's those things where it just takes one little problem to bring the whole system down when you're doing live radio. But we are here and we're talking about. So I wonder when you look at your young children or even your grandchildren, what do you see? Do you think about their future? Do you think about their hopes and their aspirations? You know, my Elijah, in fact, just yesterday, he was saying that when he grows up, he wants to be a spaceman ninja. Now, I'm not sure where you train to be a spaceman ninja, but these are the sort of things that children think about. And, you know, it's an absolute pleasure to at night lie in bed with my son and my daughter and to hear them read their reading books and to just see them develop and learn and the characters coming out of them. But imagine if that was not an option. Imagine if, because of poverty, your children were not able to get an education. In fact, in some situations, they haven't even got a bed, they haven't even got a home. So, what do we do about it? Well, I'll tell you what we do about it. We support Compassion UK to do something practical about it. And this is what we do every Wednesday because Compassion have stood with us very generously and they sponsor our breakfast show. And in return, we want to make you aware of the great work that they do. And we want you to work with Compassion to sponsor a child. Plain and simple. That's what we're doing. We want to inspire you as well and to tell you why you should be joining with Compassion because there's loads of organizations who need your support. So why is Compassion different? Well, we're about to find out. And we're talking today, Tim, about, as you said, we're talking about aspirations of the children, aren't we? Tell us more about this.
Yeah, sure. Like you said, I think every child has got a hope and a dream somewhere, and some of them may be a little bit kind of fantastical, you know. But mind you, a spaceman ninja does sound really, really cool. I wouldn't mind investigating that. But every child has got a dream, whether they're children who've got privilege and opportunity, or so many children in the developing world, you know, they have something that they would love to do, but constantly their circumstances tell them it's never going to happen. You're not worth it, or you're never going to break through this. But I meet so many children, especially when I'm in places like Africa, and you know, every third child wants to be a pilot and fly an aeroplane. And then we've got children who want to be doctors, or uh, you know um, architects or something like that. Not too many want to be teachers, sadly, but you know, we do need more teachers in the developing world as well. But so everybody's got a dream. But so often they are limited by their circumstances. You know, we have a good education system here. We have opportunities. We have training courses and all kinds of things that can help a child, together with, you know, some investment and finance and whatever, to help a child fulfill their opportunity and their destiny. But that doesn't always ring true in the developing world. I remember being in a quarry some years ago. It was in India when we were working in India, and I was talking to three brothers there as a family. They live pretty much on the quarry, and all day long they were just breaking stones. And the older boy, he was asked, "Do you have any dreams?" He said, "I have dreams, but I ask God to take them away because they'll never be fulfilled." Do you know, that broke my heart. This young man of 15, 16 years of age, he should have been playing football. He should have been studying. He should have been having an opportunity, but it wasn't going to happen for him. Um, and that is the cry of so many children and young people around the world. We've recently had the International Day of the Girl, and celebrating young women around the world, you know, and we hear so many stories, Gareth, and I'll tell you one in a minute, of young women who are beating the odds, who've got a dream, who've got a hope, who've got a vision, and want to make a difference. And we celebrate them because we think that they're amazing. But so many young women, especially, because we still live in that culture where women are oppressed and downtrodden and not given the same opportunity. So many young girls kept out of education because they're needed to work around the home, or they've got to go and fetch water every day, and they're walking 5 kilometers a day and bringing water home in great big containers, and their bodies are getting racked with pain. They're not growing and developing physically, and so they're working very hard in the home. They're kept out of education. The thing is, when you keep a girl out of education, she's not getting qualifications. But if we can get them into school, and that's what sponsoring a child will do, it will release them to be able to go into school, get an education. If they get an education, they get qualifications. If they get qualifications, then maybe they can get a job. If they've got a job, then they've got money. If they've got money, then they've got spending power. And if they've got spending power, they've got a voice in their community. And so we want to raise up young women who've got a voice, because so often that voice is stripped away from them. And they will become the movers and the shakers. They will change their community. They say, that Africa, rides on the backs of women, and it really does, in so many different ways. And so we want to help our young women that are registered on compassion programs around the world to fulfill their dreams and to become all that God wants them to be, and not have to get married early or have a baby at the age of 13 and another by the age of 15, and who knows what will happen in their lives, very often a short life. So we're there to try and help them and support them and give them a hope and a future.
Do you know, it is very, very sad, especially that story about the 15-year-old boy who was in a quarry breaking up stone. And do you know, from a mental health point of view, I think for me and for people I know, you've got hope. You've got hope that it will get better. But you know, if you're in a quarry or any other job like that, and you're stuck and you can't see a way out, that must play havoc with not only your physical health, but your mental health as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing was, with this particular family, like so many families, they were in bonded debt, which means that the debt had been passed down through the generations. And so they could never repay the debt. So they were pretty much slaves to the employer, to the quarry owner. So you're absolutely right. People living with mental health issues, depression, because they just cannot break out of those circumstances.
Now, if you have heard something which has really affected you and you're thinking, do you know, I want to make a change, think of that 15-year-old boy. Think of the young girls who are basically in slavery, the young children, not just young girls, and the families and the hope that these children have not got. CompassionUK.org is where you need to go to, and you can sponsor a child. And when you click at the top, sponsor a child, you'll see that you can select actually, and maybe it's a name, maybe it's a photograph, maybe it's the eyes or the date of birth that just makes you think, yeah, this is the one that I want to support. Well, go on the website and do your bit. It's £28 a month to empower them to overcome poverty. CompassionUK.org. And Tim is going to hang around for a little bit. I mean that in a nice way, not just hang around for a little bit. And he's going to share with us a wonderful story next. But you know something, as always, we love as many people getting involved with these conversations as possible. And maybe you sponsor a child already. Maybe you recently have done. Maybe you're thinking about it and you've got further questions. Then send them over to me and I'll put them to Tim next. The number for WhatsApp that you need, if you haven't stored it already in your phone, is 0161 511 9555. 0161 511 9555. More from Tim next. No, we love to hear success stories because that is what inspires other people to help. Where, do you know, you hear the start of somebody's story and their journey, and then you hear where they're up to now. And that's exactly what we're going to hear from Tim. Tim from Compassion UK. Remember the website, compassionuk.org. If something Tim says about this person and this story inspires you, I don't know where you are financially, but maybe you're thinking, yeah, we could afford that. We could invest in, we're talking about a human being here. We're not talking about investing into a property or a holiday home or a new car. We're talking about for £28 a month, investing into the future of a child. And you never know what will happen with that child. And that's exactly a great story here we're about to hear from Tim.
Thanks, Gareth. Yeah, before the break, we were talking about the hopes and the dreams of every child, really, and children living in poverty are no different. They have a hope, they have a dream, they want to do something, but are very often contained and held back because of their circumstances. But let me tell you about Winner. What a great name, Winner. The parents were very inspired to call her that, because I think, what you're called can very often define who you become, isn't it? And so she's Winner, and I love that name. And she is a winner. Right back when she was a little girl, she loved engines. She used to watch the kind of motorbikes go by, or the cars rattling by. But there was something about the way that they worked. It always kind of fascinated her. And just as a little girl, she began to dream about designing engines that one day could make planes fly better and faster and safer. Isn't it incredible what comes to a child? But her dream was impossible to attain, because of her circumstances. And she talks about the fact how, sometimes when they went to school, because they couldn't afford the fees, they were very often sent away again. And even though we often hear that, primary education is free in many countries, it's not always free. You've got to have the books, you've got to have the uniform, you've got to have a pair of shoes. And sometimes, kids are sent away, and that's really heartbreaking for them. Her father, Cablier, had lost his job. He was an electrician, and her mum, Claire, could hardly cover the family's needs with her salary, the little job that she was doing. And so this family were really, really poor. And one day they were able to, a neighbor saw their plight and said, hey, there's a compassion project that's newly opened at such and such a church. And why don't you just see if you can be a part of that? And they fitted the criteria, and Winner was able to be registered onto the compassion project. And that sponsorship began to change her life. She was able to go to school. Those school fees were paid. She wasn't sent home anymore. She began to have healthcare and different kind of programs that were going to help to develop her and encourage her. And she says, I'm so excited to be a part of this program. She had books. She was able to share those books with her brother, and he was able to learn as well. And they came alongside her in all kinds of different ways, providing food for the family when they really needed it, and educating her on how to really go for her hopes and dreams. One of the things that we do in Compassion is when a child hits the age of 12, they have a thing called My Plan for Tomorrow. So they start to think about, how are we going to implement our dreams? How are we going to make them happen? What do we need to do? What do we need to study? And so she was then encouraged, to think about, what's your further education? What do you want to do? She said, well, I want to be a mechanical engineer. She'd always wanted that. But she was told, not by Compassion, but by others in the community, women don't do that. That doesn't happen. And, she still pushed through, and she had a lot to prove. She kept on studying, and she was able to go on into university. By the end of her first quarter exams, she ranked 12 in a class of 45 men. But by the second quarter, she was second in her class, and she pushed herself even more. And by the third quarter, she was ranked first in her class. There was no stopping Winner. She wanted this. But, even then, many of her classmates, all males, did their best to make life difficult for her. They'd not share knowledge with her, or try to convince her of wrong information, and just try to hold her back. I guess they were feeling pretty threatened about her. But Compassion continued to support her. The local church continued to support her, providing the laptop, the books, the funds that she needed, the transport that she needed to get to university. Her father says, we just couldn't do anything. And we're so grateful to the church for making this happen. And we so appreciate the love of her sponsor. Well, after completing her kind of high school studies and, her university studies in mechanical engineering, she was writing her thesis for a university degree. She's got 1 year left to graduate from the Compassion program and from university. But meanwhile, she managed to get an additional scholarship for training and combining that training with solar energy and electricity. And right now, as part of that course, she's designing a motorcycle powered by solar energy for people with disabilities. And we'll introduce it during the presentation of her thesis. This girl is brilliant. Winner is great. She intends to establish a company to serve people and help them reduce their electricity bills. I think we could do with Winner over here, couldn't we? But using solar energy. But also she's looking to be admitted into an international university where she can also go on to study aeronautical engineering. So there's the dream becoming a reality right now, A couple of years ago, she represented Compassion Togo, the Regional Youth Leaders Summit in Kenya. And in 2020, she was one of the moderators at the National Youth Leaders Summit. So she's such an inspiration, She's a youth leader. Other young people, other young women are looking up to Winner because they've seen that she has pushed through the boundaries and she's kind of pushed through those glass ceilings and, she's making it happen and she's becoming all that God wants her to be and all that was in her heart to do. So, many young girls are coming to her now and saying, hey, we want to be like you, Winner. We want to study engineering. We want to break the norm and make something with our lives. So, big up for Winner, and, we're so proud of her and many other of our young women as well who've broken out of that situation.
A great story. And that all came about because somebody stood with Winner for £28 a month. And now you could have potentially inspired an engineer who will go on to change the world, certainly change the environment and make life better for other people, all because of £28 a month, which is truly, truly incredible. What investment. I mean, if you think about that, if you knew the outcome, and somebody says, right, well, for £28 a month here, this young child will go on to be a mechanical engineer who will potentially go to an international university and design who knows what in the future. You'd say, where do I sign?
Exactly.
Well, you can sign right now by going to the website. It's all there. And, what I want to say is, that it's £28 a month. You're investing into a human being because sometimes we can think it's just a name, isn't it? It's just a number. It's an amount of money which is coming out of your bank account every month. But this is a human being that you could give an amazing future to. CompassionUK.org. You head over there. And by the way, when you do that, will you say that you heard about it on Connect Radio? Because a few people have said, I've signed up, and we said, did you mention Connect Radio? And they went, oh no. So make sure that you do. And thank you, Tim. It's really inspirational to hear these stories. And next week, we've got a special treat because we've got 2 for the price of 1. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I got one of my colleagues, Shamel, who's going to join us next Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. And Shamel works in our engagement center. So she's really connecting with sponsors on the front line, as it were, and helping them with their journey of sponsorship, bringing advice, answering the questions and queries that many sponsors will have and helping them to understand more about the work of Compassion. So we're going to look at the journey from when you click on that button on the website that Gareth's been talking about. What happens next? How does it all work? We want to be totally transparent about everything to do with this ministry. And so that will be an interesting story, and you can find out what happens next and how you can be more involved.
Looking forward to it already. That is Tim from Compassion UK, and he'll be joining us again next week.
Thank you, Gareth.